The following program was provided by a valued member of our local community. Rogers TV is proud to support local producers and share local voices, ideas, and opinions. For more information, please visit our website. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Want to learn how to make a delicious vegan scone or any plant-based baked good? Join us as we go to Bad Attitude Bakery on Dundas Street West in Toronto and meet Logan Dunn and find out what he does there. Welcome to my series, Farm to Fork. I'm Chef Connie Powers, and you're watching Rogers TV. Today we take you on a very fun tour. We're going to the Greater Toronto area to a bakery called Bad Attitude. This is a vegan-based, plant-based bakery owned by Logan Dunn, a really young baker, and he gave us some insight into where he started and how to cook vegan or how to bake vegan, which is a little bit of a trick. But he showed us that you don't have to compromise. You can just use delicious things. Today we're going to be making a vegan scone. He's known for his scones, and so this is a tricky thing because his scones are good. Let's see if we can replicate that. Let's get started. The first thing we want to do is make a vegan buttermilk. And how do we do that? We take a coconut milk and we add in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. So we're going to add in about a ½ tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to about 180 milliliters, 3/4 cups of a coconut milk. We're going to whisk that together. We want it to curdle. And then we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So we're going to whisk that together, and then we're going to set that aside. We'll set that aside, we'll let it curdle and turn into a vegan buttermilk, and then we'll start the dry ingredients. Logan was telling us so much about how he started to cook and bake vegan and plant-based, but how he started to bake first was through his grandmother and both of his grandmothers, and he took their recipes and he turned them into plant-based recipes. In his shop you can enjoy grandma's, or I think they're called Nana's, butter tarts. That was a trick to do that, I'm sure. We're going to now add our dry ingredients. So I'm looking at this because I'm trying to give it to you in weights. When you're baking, always weigh your ingredients. So we have 240 grams of an all-purpose flour. We have, I'm just checking, 100 grams of white sugar. We have a ½ teaspoon of baking soda and a ½ teaspoon of sea salt. And we have 2 tablespoons of baking powder. So we're going to mix that together. We're going to form a well in the middle. I have about 110, 112 grams approximately of a plant-based butter. The thing about plant-based butter is it's more like a margarine in that it starts off with a liquid form. So you want to make sure, very sure, that this is very cold to use. It's not like butter that chills easily. So this is just a plant-based butter that I got at the grocery store. This is a PC brand, and I'm going to just cube it. You don't want to play with it much because it can easily get too soft, and then your scones won't be as soft and flaky. Okay, so I've added that to my dry ingredients, my flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And then the best thing, you've got these tools on the end of your arms. Use your hands to break that up. Now your hands are warm, so you have to be careful that you don't get it too soft. So Logan's Bakery on Dundas Street West in Toronto, it services, he delivers. So it services numerous coffee shops, and he delivers throughout the GTA, but he also delivers beyond that. He's going to tell you about it, and you can go on his Instagram, on his website, and find out exactly where he delivers. And it's an unusual thing. He's known in the GTA as being the primo plant-based baker. He has savory things as well as sweet things. All right, so we're getting this into a crumbly mass, and it's going to be a little shaggy when you get it together, but I'm not going to add my dry ingredients. I look over it, and yes, it is turning into a nice curdled buttermilk is really what we're making, but out of coconut milk, apple cider vinegar, and a little bit of vanilla for flavor. So we're going to make these with blueberry and a little bit of a lemon glaze at the end. But you know, Logan makes pumpkin. He makes a wide variety of scones, and you can use your creativity and put in whatever you'd like. So of course, the name Bad Attitude. He explains that. He explains that in his tour. Of course, what was the first thing I'm going to ask him is why. But we all pretty much had an idea of where that came from, and he'll explain that. I'm getting a really nice soft consistency now, and I think I don't want to do too much more because I don't want that butter to get too soft. All right, so I'm going to create a little well in the middle. And I'm going to add in my buttermilk, my coconut milk made into a vegan buttermilk. And then I'm going to just do this. And this is where I'm going to get the fork and start turning it into a full mass. It's going to be a rough dough. That's okay. The less you play with it, the more delicate and flaky your scones will be. Okay, I'm going to mix this up. We're going to turn it onto the board and get it ready to go into the pan. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Saturdays, it's hockey like you've never seen before. Welcome to the NHL Hockeyverse. It's the place where real data of NHL action is transformed, literally, into animations. Combining NHL Edge puck and player tracking data with animations to show hockey like never before.
Let's go inside the helmet.
That's right. This is no video game. The NHL Hockeyverse Matchup of the Week, Saturdays at noon on Sportsnet.
My dad was a railway porter. It was just about the only job a black man could get. But he had big plans for us. Music would be our ticket out of poverty. I knew we couldn't afford that piano, so I practiced twice as hard.
Nice, Daisy. Okay, Oscar, let's hear it.
Turns out, I wasn't half bad. Then I found jazz, or it found me. It wasn't all easy, though. I faced a lot of hate, but I found my stage. They call me the man with 4 hands. Well, I don't know about that, but let's see how far this ticket takes me.
From Montreal to Carnegie Hall and far beyond, Oscar Peterson became one of the most recorded and celebrated jazz musicians of all time.
This is Rogers TV.
And we're back. You're watching Rogers TV. I'm Chef Connie Powers, and this is Farm to Fork. Today we're going to Bad Attitude Bakery in the Greater Toronto area on Dundas Street West. We're making Logan's scones. These are vegan scones. Now, while you're away on the break, I mixed in some blueberries and I got the dough ready to press out. You want to avoid rolling scones because it'll flatten them. So we've got a really nice dough, and like I said earlier, it's going to be a shaggy dough. And I have the rolling pin out, but I'm not going to use that. I just wanted to show you that you can just shape these. You want to make them into an 8-inch disc. So we'll get the right consistency. The right thickness, I should say. Now, earlier I said 2 tablespoons of baking powder. That's a give or take. I think I was leaning more towards about 1.5. So just until you get that reaction from the baking powder, you'll see it, and you can see it here. It's fluffy. So I'm trying to get a 8-inch disc before I cut them, and you can see on my pad here that that's an 8-inch disc right there. All right, there you have it. We have the 8-inch disc. And now I'm going to cut this into sections before I put it onto a parchment paper lined sheet. What you want to do is make sure that your oven is being preheated to 425. So we'll cut that in that square. I'm going to put a little flour on my bench cutter. Go again. I could make that into 4 sections, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make it into another section like that. All right, so there we have it. Now you could do this on your parchment paper, but I think I'm going to be able to lift it nice enough and get them back. I want to separate them to bake them. So I have these pie-shaped scones. Remember, the less you play with them, the nicer they will remain. Give them each some space. You could add any kind of fruit you wanted. You could add, I have an apple out because I was going to make some apple ones for the fall. This is some turbinado sugar, some coarse sugar. We're going to put that on top for the baking. We're going to pop this in the oven. While they're cooking, I'm going to take you on the tour. Take a look at this. Everybody, welcome to my series, Farm to Fork. I'm Chef Connie Powers. Today, we're in Toronto at 816 Dundas Street West, and we're visiting Logan Dunn at Bad Attitude Bakery. This is a completely plant-based bakery. It used to be a bike shop, just change one letter, becomes a bake shop. Let's go in and see what Logan's got to show us. Hey, nice to meet you, Logan.
Nice to meet you.
Connie Powers. So we're here at Bad Attitude at 816 Dundas Street West, and this is Logan Dunn. He is the owner of this Bad Attitude. Why Bad Attitude?
When I was growing up, my parents would always tell me to lose the attitude, but I never did, and I feel like it kind of played a role into who I am today and the perseverance that it took to open this place.
Yeah, and you know, it has that provocative story behind it. We knew there was a story behind it, and I was hoping it was, that you had a bad attitude, because sometimes that gets you a long way.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back and see what you have to show us.
Cool.
Where did this spark happen?
Yeah, so it started when I was studying nutritional sciences at Ryerson. I had an interest in nutrition and food science, and then found through that I was really, really into recipe development.
So as a kid, was there an interest? Was there a grandmother, a mother, a father, somebody who said, you're pretty good with food? Did you work? Fast food, where did this spark?
I never worked in the food industry per se growing up, but both my grandmothers were very hands-on cooking and baking. When I would stay at their homes after school on the weekends,
Sure.
They would bring out baking as an activity that we would do together.
Oh, really?
Alongside arts and crafts, going to the beach, the classics. But baking was always one that we would kind of do together. I actually have a product here, the Nan's Butter Tarts. That's my Nan's recipe that I've then veganized.
So are your Nans, your grandma's still living?
Yes, they are.
So are they interested in this whole new flair of the vegan? Like, I'm sure they're steeped in the butter, the dairy, the eggs.
Yeah.
Are they interested in these new recipes?
I like to think that I've been vegan for like over a decade now. So I feel like they've been more open to trying the things that I brought home. At first they were very like, oh, it's vegan, could it be good? But over the years they've tried stuff and learned that, okay, this doesn't taste all that different from typical milk, eggs, butter.
And there's this idea that vegan is a compromise, but I like the idea, what I read on your website, is that vegan is, this is the way we should eat.
Yeah.
And then, this isn't butter, dairy is not the optimum.
Yeah.
That vegan doesn't have to be a compromise, it has to be its own thing.
Its own thing, exactly.
Yes.
And I didn't find that the switch to vegan baking was all that difficult. Like, I think that people get in their head that taking out the eggs, taking out the butter, taking out the milk will make it a harder process or like completely different. But there's really not that much difference to it. I just swap in vegan butter, I swap in vegan milk.
Okay, so when I'm looking at some of your descriptions, I see creamy butter tart, calling it a butter tart.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why we still use those phrases or those terms or those nouns.
Yeah, because that's what it is. It's a butter tart.
Okay. We are baking something special today, and what is it?
It's our cardamom spiced cake that we started making at the end of pear season. It's got farm fresh pear cider from Pure and Simple Farms in Millgrove, Ontario. They pick the pears, they press the pears, they bottle the pear juice for us, and we use it in this cake. It just comes through with this nice depth that wouldn't be there otherwise.
So would this be something that's always on your shelf, or is this a fall thing?
It was fall and winter, and as we run out of the cider, we'll phase it out and phase something new in for the spring.
Okay.
But we really stockpiled this cider because we loved the product.
So this is, vegan cooking is not somebody's first experience usually.
Yeah.
They have to learn this skill. So take us through what's different. If I were to make this cake that's completely dairy and egg, what's different about this?
The biggest difference here is that instead of dairy milk, we're using soy milk.
Okay.
And then instead of an egg, we're actually using applesauce.
Right.
So applesauce will bind just like an egg would. And that's really all that this cake is looking for from an egg.
So this isn't going to be gluten-free?
No.
It's vegan?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what do we start with?
So we have in here, we already have our melted butter, brown sugar.
Butter, or what is it
it's like our Earth Balance butter alternative.
Okay.
So it's just a 1-to-1.
And it cooks perfect?
Yeah. Yep. Soy milk, and then I use invert syrup, which is sugar molecules that have been inverted through boiling into a syrup, and it just adds this really nice moistness to the cake.
I would say. Yeah. And then the applesauce too.
Yeah.
So your methods are the same, your ingredients alter.
Yeah.
And then once you know the method or the ingredient ratios, compared to, you could take a recipe that is non-vegan and you can alter it.
Yep, 100%. I feel like what I do typically if I'm looking at a non-vegan recipe as a starting point to develop something is I'll take the butter percentage down about 20%.
Oh, okay.
Because vegan butter is more of a soft margarine. Then in the fridge, say you would pull out cow's butter and it would be hard. Vegan butter is not going to be like that.
Okay.
So it's got a bit more of a liquid content, so I bring that down. And then the milk and the egg alternative, I do a 1-to-1 swap.
1-to-1, okay.
Yeah.
And what about baking times? Do they alter?
It depends, because I'm using like an industrial convection oven, so it'll be quicker than if you were to do this at home.
Okay, sure. All right, let's get started.
Cool. So all I have left to add here is our Bosc pear cider from Pure and Simple Farms. Just add about 50 grams of it. There we go, that's all we need.
So it's similar to be using a vanilla. I was just going to give you that flavor.
Exactly.
But it probably breaks down the grain because it's a cider.
Yeah, and
it makes
it's
it tender.
Exactly, and it keeps it really nice and moist and just adds a little, almost like earthiness to the cake.
I bet it would.
Yeah. And then I have our dry ingredients, just all-purpose flour here, baking soda, baking powder, some cardamom, which is really, really nice, and then the tiniest bit of cinnamon.
So would this be considered like a snack cake, a muffin cake?
Yeah, I would say a snack cake. We're not gonna glaze it. We're not gonna do an icing on it.
Okay.
I just serve it cut up in squares as is. I find it's flavorful enough that we don't need to do too much to the cake itself. And I'm just whisking it here until it comes together. And kind of like a pancake batter, you'll see that there's still some clumps in there. That's what I want. I don't want to take it too far with the whisk.
I can smell the cardamom in it.
Exactly, yeah. The cardamom's very, very nice. And then I'm just gonna dump all of this into our pre-lined little cake pan here. Toss her in the oven, and that's really...
So you are you open all year round? Are you open Monday to Sunday?
Yep, I'm open 7 days a week. On weekdays, we open at 8:30 and close at 5. And on weekends, we open a little bit later at 9 because our bake is longer, and then close at 5 again.
And then you are at some markets.
We've been doing the Sunday market every other Sunday, depending on the season.
And that's St. Lawrence?
It's at St. Lawrence on the Esplanade. And then we have hopes to be at a farmer's market this summer. I've applied to a whole bunch.
A whole bunch, yeah.
So that's up in the air. But
it's a lot of work to go to markets because you are cooking the night before or that morning, taking it fresh. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, baking here for the store, baking for our wholesalers, for our pre-orders that go out for delivery, and then for the market as well, typically.
You know what I'm really curious about is croissants. How do you do croissants?
Yeah.
Is it with the vegan butter?
Yep.
And you block it the same way?
Yes. So, like I said, the vegan butter is a little softer, the liquid content's a little higher. So I take it down by about 20%, and then for anything that we want to be tender and flaky, I'll freeze the butter ahead of time.
That's a good idea.
So all of our scones, we do the prep in the evening, freeze it. The next day I'll food process the butter into little like rice-sized pieces, and then use it how you would typical butter that would kind of be out of the fridge, that texture. Ours comes out of the freezer,
so
that
you could
texture.
even grate it, you could...
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
So delivery.
Yeah.
You are here at 816 Dundas Street West, but you deliver to quite a far distance.
Yes, yeah, so we offer delivery through Starling. It's a third-party delivery service. They do $10 flat fees all throughout Toronto and the GTA.
Okay.
And then once we get outside of that in Southern Ontario, it's $15.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so I offer delivery still for $10, but with a minimum that people outside of the GTA have to meet.
So how far out of the GTA will you go?
It depends. I think that they're going as far as Peterborough, one direction, but on my website I have a full list of the cities, and it's like pretty endless.
Well, it's a great idea because I'm sure there's a lot of bakeries, but vegan bakeries, plant-based bakeries, are not as popular.
Yeah.
So you also provide for cafes in the city?
Exactly. I feel like a big portion of our profits and a big portion of the business that I focus on is the wholesale to cafes.
I bet.
I think we're in 12 locations right now with talks of getting into 3 or 4 more for March. And we're just gonna pop this in the oven for 35 minutes at 325, which equates to about 350 on a home oven. This one runs a bit hotter.
So word on the street is that your scones are the best.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I started developing the scones probably 6 years ago. Posted them to this blog, got a lot of really good feedback, and it was just one that I kept going back to and was making for myself and for friends. And when I started really thinking about this business for real, they were the first thing that I knew, like, these will be there. These are on the menu.
It smells delicious.
The finished product here, we have our pear and cardamom cake, ready to be sliced up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to order from you, they go onto your website, which is right here.
Yep.
And you go onto this website, you pre-order,
Yes.
and then delivery.
Yeah, so it's just badattitudebread.ca. The home screen has a whole load of information.
Okay.
There's a minimum for pre-orders just because, as I said, I am eating some of the delivery cost.
I'm getting to my
Okay.
This is your cardamom spice cake, and you're just going to dust them, just make it snow.
Exactly. The powdered sugar, as I was saying, does kind of settle into the cake throughout the day because it's such a...
Oh, so you just redo it.
Yeah, can't overstate how moist it is. So we just like to make it look a little nice for y'all.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
And we're back. These just came out of the oven. That was a great tour. You learned so much about Logan and his passion for this style of baking. Now, the thing you need to remember is if you want to make scones, you want to make any kind of bake good, and you don't want to make it vegan, just do the change up with the ingredients. But you can see how easy it is with just a few simple changes to make it a vegan dish. So these are just out of the oven. I let them cool just slightly before I took them off. Now, scones on their own, they don't look beautiful. They taste delicious. It's how you dress them up. So disappointed, this one lost its little peak, but we're going to set this hot pan aside. So they sat for a few minutes, and now I'm going to be adding, you could dust these with sugar. You could leave them just as they are. I have made a little bit of a glaze. Now you can do a lemon glaze because remember these are blueberry, or you could just do a simple glaze. I put a little bit of cinnamon and some lemon juice and powdered sugar, and I'm just going to add in or drizzle on a little bit onto each one. It adds a nice bite to it. I added the cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg because it's more of a fall type dish. And there you have it. We have got easy scones. It did not take long. This is using a coconut milk and a plant-based butter. You could exchange any of those things. Scones aren't that hard and they make a delicious breakfast. I'd like to thank Logan and his staff at Bad Attitude for taking us into the bakery and showing us how you can use a family recipe and just a few changes make it into a vegan delight. Go check out the Instagram of Bad Attitude. If you're in the Toronto area, find yourself on Dundas Street West and stop in for something delicious. Until next time, keep cooking.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.